What's up, Dan?
Oh, you did say it.
Welcome to another edition of Super Home Sessions with Bob and Dan. I'm Bob Burnett Architecture.
Dan Saunders Construction.
So you have a super builder and a super designer. And
Discussing all things super.
so each week we're going to talk about super home movement and what that's all about, and
Have guests across
Yeah.
each episode.
and get down and dirty to specifically what we need to do to create better buildings, better buildings that are going to be better, healthy for people, healthy for the planet.
So who have we got this week?
This week we're talking to Nicholas Matthews from
Nicholas
Winstone Wallboards. Yeah.
Does he like being called Nicholas or Nick?
Well, actually, we used to just call him Big Nick because we had the two Nicks. We had at Certified Builders.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, now we're just calling him Nick. This week we have an esteemed expert, Nicholas Matthews from Winstone Wallboards, aka Jib.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Thanks for joining us, mate.
No worries. Expert, you say? Oh, we shall see.
Do you know what my grandfather used to say what an expert was? X is the unknown quantity and a spurt is a drip under pressure. I'm not saying that's you, I'm just saying that's just what he said.
No, I think that's very accurate.
Yeah. A jack of all trades,
Yeah.
master of none.
That's actually not the full saying. I can't remember how the rest of that saying goes, but yeah, that's just only a small part of that.
Yeah, what is that? How does that saying go? A jack of all trades, master of none. An expert in one? Or
Something like that, yeah. Anyway, we're going off on a tangent already.
So, thank you to Jib for supporting Super Home Movement over the years. It's been allowed us to do what we do, and without that support we wouldn't have achieved anywhere near as much as we've achieved to date. So thanks for that. And so back in the early days, I did a video piece with Clara, and she asked me to talk about Jib, and I sort of slightly facetiously said, talking about Jib, plasterboard, and that's what am I going to talk about? That's like talking about air, and but Jib has really become the name and how we think of the material, and it's actually a brand name, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's become a brand name as such. I guess if you're being entirely correct, it's plasterboard manufactured, or Jib plasterboard. But Winstone Wallboards is the parent company that has been involved with manufacturing the plasterboard almost 100 years in New Zealand. Started off as New Zealand Wallboards, then went to Winstone Wallboards, and there's even a backstory. There was an internal staff competition about where the name comes from. It was originally called Gibraltar board, from the Rock of Gibraltar, and then it got shortened to Jib. So it's commonly referred to within the industry as Jib when you talk about internal linings. But of course, internal linings can be anything from plywood to a whole lot of other products. Plasterboard is just a small part of it.
Because you've got quite a vast variety of different products that you're supplying now. It used to be back in the day, I think it was just your standard wallboard ceiling, for 9.5 mil, 9.5 and 12.5 millimetres. It might have been, there was a fire line and aqua line, and that was about it.
How old are you? That's going back a wee while, isn't it?
Well, I've been in the building game since '93, I think. So
yeah, certainly come a long way in terms of the products. The company is quite innovative in terms of meeting demand and bringing out new products and weatherline products now and exterior products. So when you tell builders in the industry or architects and designers to stick Jib on the outside, they're like, hey, that doesn't work. But in reality, that technology has existed for 30 years in other parts of the world, We just knew to introduce it into our current environment. Yeah.
So you're talking about the rigid air barrier?
Yeah, the rigid air barrier is the purple product that everyone says, as my wife refers to it, that purple stuff.
Weatherline.
Yeah, Weatherline. It's a great product. It's no silica dust, jib being a naturally occurring product, so installers love it. It's easy to put up. It's got great exposure times. It's got a fire rating and an STC rating and all the things that you'd want. And once it's on, it's an inert product, so it doesn't move. So yeah, from the builder's perspective, if you're straightening frames, it'll stay straight.
Yeah. So maybe we can come back and talk about the products a little bit more. But I'm just wanting to talk to you, Nick, about Jib's sort of overarching sustainability ethos, and I really think that the shared values that your company has with the Superhome movement, and also the good work that you guys do educating the industry and just sharing the knowledge is really in tune and aligned with what we're trying to do with the Superhome movement.
Yeah, no, thanks, Bob. You're right. Superhome and Jib go back a few years now through the connection yourself and Claire, but I think there's a lot of synergy there. The business itself is a sustainable business with good business practices in terms of products and what have you. But you're right, it gives a lot back to the industry and to the wider industry that people don't necessarily understand or see, but certainly do.
Yeah. I think that's really congruous with our thinking. Just the big picture and thinking about more than just the product, the plasterboard, but actually thinking about the whole building and how everything goes together, how everything works as a system. That systems thinking and really thinking about our buildings and designing and building buildings in our industry. It's sort of like an ecosystem where everything works together. And one of the things that Jib introduced was the Jib Fix framing system, which isn't even really about Jib so much. Well, it is, but it's more about reducing the amount of timber framing. That's one part of it, and I think a lot of people in New Zealand don't realise that there's a lot of unnecessary timber in our buildings, and it's actually more sustainable and potentially, logically, it would be more economical to reduce the timber because timber is more expensive than insulation. But if we have a less ratio of timber to insulation, we've got a better performing building and potentially at a better cost.
No, yeah, well, 100% agree with you. And Jib's one of those companies that, funnily enough, a lot of our literature talks about our competitors' products because it's got to work in with a whole lot of other systems, right? But going back to what you were saying about entire systems, I think a number of years ago they took the position that if we're going to launch a product to market and it's going to work in with other systems, then we need to rate the entire system. So that's why all the infrastructure, all the systems that tie into a common board are rated to achieve a standard. So we know how it's going to perform in any given environment, particularly in the New Zealand built environment.
Yep. And the Jib bracing system, so the Jib's providing the bracing, and funnily enough, with the Jib Fix framing system, there's less timber, but it's actually just as strong, if not stronger, because you've got those metal angles, and that's also meaning you've got less issues with popping and cracking, and because you're screwing into the metal.
Correct, yeah. And one of the things, I think it was interesting because one of the things that came out of the earthquakes with the Jib bracing system was it's easier to repair and reinstate the bracing elements in the house using interior linings than it is to remove, you appreciate this, Dan, taking cladding off and trying to get to it from the outside. So while that wasn't the original intention of the Jib bracing system, it's where it kind of ended up, was kind of an unexpected byproduct of it. But to your point about less is more, the great thing about that is if you do need to replace the interior linings, the plasterboard is recyclable. You know, it can be broken up, put back into the plant, or used in agricultural industries as well. So,
Soil conditioning.
it's a great breaks down clay soil really well. So it's one of our byproducts.
That you have from a new build, can that be taken? Obviously, you can take it away to the not landfill, Westview station, and they recycle it into agriculture. But can you bring that back in circular economy, put it back into your manufacturing system, or
Process,
it's not quite?
yeah.
Not.
No, it is. The technology exists, and that's what they're doing in Tauriko, in the new plant. So it's set up to be able to take even all our rejected board that happens in manufacturing, but also clean offcuts from building sites can go back in, as long as it's not contaminated.
Yeah. That's the key thing, isn't it? So it's new virgin jib offcuts, something that's had paint on it. You can't recycle.
And where there's a feasibility study going on for the Christchurch plant to update it and future-proof it for the next 100 years, and that'll be one of the key outcomes of it, is to give the Christchurch plant the ability to offer that service. But at a sort of a regional level, we've got partners around the country where if a subdivision is a big enough development, we can put a waste skip there that collects all offcuts, and then it goes off, gets processed, and is used in the agricultural sector. So it doesn't have to go to the landfill. But I think in a really simple terms, one of the best things that you can do is order your jib to the right size. So there's enough the products come in enough lengths that you shouldn't have to have half sheets of wastage. You know, and certainly here in Christchurch, we offer a cut service. So if you need, the minimum is 100 sheets, which is a fairly big project, I'll admit. But if you wanted it manufactured to a certain specific dimension, we can do that.
That's cool.
Yeah. So you got your 2 4s, 2 7s, 3 metres, 3 3s. You could go anywhere.
Up to 6 metres essentially, because that's what you can transport effectively on a pallet.
You can work outside those nominal measurements that you manufacture in, right? And you can say, righto, if you've got 50 units and their widths are 3 metres, 250, just using that as an example, you can cut all your sheets to that as opposed to 3 3s.
Yeah, but the trick to it is to cut half of them to that and the rest of them less, maybe 25 mil, because by the time you get a corner and what have you, that's what catches people out. Yeah. But you're right. That's the concept behind it.
Sheet minimum, and you can basically cut to order, like a kit set.
Yeah, because when it comes off the belt, it's nearly 100 metres long before it gets cut.
Yeah, so you're cutting it anyway, so why not cut it to the right size? So basically you're doing, for want of a better word, CNC measurements to cut it to suit.
Yeah. You're getting deep into the detail now.
Yeah.
Delving into the detail.
We just jumped into it, didn't we?
Getting down and dirty.
Yeah, well, that's quite good,
but,
because that would cut down on, you'd have no waste almost.
Yeah, well, I think again to the original part of the conversation is, if you're building a room and you know it's 4 metres long, don't order a 6 metre sheet. Order a 4.2.
Yeah. So ordering, the process on site, the knowing the products, knowing what's available, and then how you deal with waste, all really important. But number one, design out waste at the beginning. So if you've got clever design, you're going to avoid having to deal with waste in the first place, because you've got the right dimensions that suit the product sizes.
That's right, and you'll appreciate this, Bob. In the design world, often you think from the outside of the envelope in, so you set your studs out to determine what side the sheets are, or if it's a specific size panel, where the studs go, where the lap goes, those types of things, and don't necessarily think about the internal linings and what their sizes are. So it's really about just looking at it more, what's the word? Holistically, yeah, thank you. Escaped my mind for a moment there, but yeah, to your point, looking at it holistically.
Yeah, so the other thing when I think about waste is, I mean, the New Zealand building construction industry is incredibly dirty business. Around 50% reportedly of the landfill, of the waste to landfill, is coming from construction, and it's actually, just talking to you is really good. But a lot of people in the industry, Jib's a really good example, but a lot of people can do a lot better, and it's just a matter of having the conversation and thinking about it. Anything that we throw away, we've actually purchased it in the first place. So you're basically throwing away money, and then so if we can avoid that, it's going to be good. But also from the point of view of the embodied energy and all the resources that go into making it, it's going to be a way to reduce our carbon emissions big time if we reduce the waste. And it's the low-hanging fruit. It's something it's not difficult to do, so we just need to get on and do it. Just getting back to sort of the bracing thing, with the super homes, we're thinking about, a lot changed after the Christchurch earthquakes, and we started thinking about things differently, and we're usually thinking about, double the new building standard for bracing, or at least 1.5 times that standard. And it's a little bit the same with insulation standards. We're doing better than what the minimum requirement is.
Yeah.
And it's not difficult, and it's not overly cost prohibitive to do that. It's just a matter of intelligent design, making sure that you've got the proportions of the walls and the windows right, and
It's
the
that whole
bracing in the
super
right
home
places.
ethos, though, isn't it? Right? We build better
Build better, do more
and we
with less.
design better.
Yeah. Design and build better, and just better use of resources and more intelligent use of resources. So the other thing is, and this is what we're trying to do with creating awareness for the industry, but also the homeowners, and what we're doing with the project across the road here, Nafare Parada, the first zero carbon super home. It's all about creating awareness and education, and it's really great to have Jib partner and along for the journey.
Happy to be there. Looking forward to seeing it come to fruition.
Yeah, and we'll be doing some tours. It'll be an exemplar demonstration project, so we'll be inviting people to come in during the construction process, and then obviously once it's finished, people can come and see what is a zero carbon super home, and how do you do that.
Yeah, it was interesting you just talking about bracing. Like, you don't have to achieve your bracing in this Jib, but along the whole idea of sustainability and design, if you can achieve it with a product, why would you not? Because it's less amount of screws, less amount of fixings that you need to put in. And of course, that all comes down to what the client wants and the look you're trying to achieve. But if you can, I've always thought if you can purchase and use a product that actually kills two birds with one stone, why wouldn't you?
So Nick, thank you very much for joining Dan and I for this Super Home Sessions edition.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been a great chat, and thanks again to Jib for supporting the Super Home movement, because it's really important. And we've achieved a lot, but we've still got a lot of work to do. And we had our 10-year anniversary the other day. That was a great event, and then just reflected on what we've done and then where we're heading. And I'd love it if Jib was been there for the long haul. You've been there since the beginning, and I'd love it if you're there for the next 10 years.
Yeah, and I think we will be, because it's a good organisation to be involved with. It fits really well with our own internal ethos and business, where we want to end up and how we want to support the industry. So keep up the good work, Superhome.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Thanks, Nick. And it's definitely gaining traction, because a week or two ago they announced that Christchurch City Council announced that Super Home certification is going to be recorded on the limbs, which is
Awesome.
good recognition, and I think that's great. We couldn't have achieved it without Jib, so thank you.
Thank Thanks, Dan.
Well, thank you. One great thing that I got out of it today was that cutting to measurement. So
A lot
I'm
of people know about it.
I'm gonna apply that next door and see if we can totally minimise the waste out of it. So on those
So
40.
it's a simple thing to do.
Well, that's the thing, is we can just do a site measure. Obviously, we're doing a site measure anyway, right? So we know how we're building the houses. So we might just work out obviously it's just a plan, isn't it? To say, right, here are the, you do that anyway. You're right on the wall, so you just know each house is going to be measured and cut to this. So there should be hopefully no waste.
Cheers, Super Home. Great to be here.